Hola, buenos días, it's me, Nacho. When Senior Josh told me that he needed to make some nachos today, Senior Josh is the second cousin of my wife's dad's sister, I said, Senior Josh, of course I can help. So today we make nachos. But before I go, I want to share with you the Mexican word of the day. It's juicy. You use in a sentence? Tell me if juicy the cops. Well, it's always great to have Nacho pull in here to help us with a recipe today. Sage loves her Uncle Nacho, keeps her well entertained, as I'm sure you can imagine. So we're doing something really basic today, and again, using things that in our fridge are starting to turn a bit. We've got some tomatoes that are starting to ripen a lot, some onions we've got to use. Remember those little leftover toasted corns from the soup recipe yesterday? We're going to use that. I've got some black beans here that have been sitting in our cupboard. And then normally I would use corn chips, and thank you very much Uncle Nacho for bringing me some proper corn chips from Mexico on his trip. But my last trip to the shops, they had this flavor of Doritos on the shelf, and that was it. But what you can use is you can use Doritos, you can use Beacon Bites, but it needs to be a kind of a corn chip to really have that nice nacho sort of flavor. Okay, so there's loads of different ways to make a salsa. Traditionally what they would do is use like a flattened pan called a comal, and you would take whole tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, and you just let them sort of dry toast, get that smoky sort of flavor in, put it in a blender, and you blitz it. You'd be surprised at how beautiful and simple that is with a little bit of seasoning. Amazing. But for what we want to do for the nachos, it makes it too saucy, too moist. So what we do is we take the tomatoes, we cut them in half, and then I'll show you exactly how we sort of cut them into little pieces. Now, that makes a nice chunky salsa so that there's texture, there's bite there. You don't have all that water from the inside, but now that pulp that you get out of the middle of the tomato, do not throw that away. We don't like wasting food. That you can throw into any soup or stew or curry. It'll add to your sauce, it'll add flavor, it'll thicken it a bit from the tomatoes. Beautiful. So this is the salsa we basically use for nachos. You've got fresh tomatoes, finely chopped onion, nice fresh coriander. You saw a little squeeze of lime juice, really, really pivotal for a good salsa. And that's it, salt and pepper, and we're good to go. Now that we pull over the chips, but we'll show you how we construct all of that now shortly. Oven's on at 180, and we're pretty much ready to go. Okay, so we've got some diced onion, a little bit of finely chopped garlic here. And what I've done is I've just opened that black bean ever so slightly, the tin, so that I can tip it on its side and just drain that liquid out of there. I don't want all of that moisture and stuff in there. And then we're going to throw some olive oil into the pan, brown this up nicely, throw those beans in there, coat them in some spices and seasoning, give them some attitude, and then we're ready to go. Okay, so our black beans are in the pan, some ground cumin, coriander, and some paprika in there to give it some nice flavor. I have put a little bit of water in just to kind of soak that up and create a sauce, obviously because those spices dry up quite quickly. I'm going to put that on a low heat now, and I'm just going to let that simmer down for a bit. The oven's warmed up to 180, and now I'm going to show you how to put our nachos together. Right, so when we make nachos, chips down first. And you'll see I've put some tin foil down here, and there's method to that madness. You'll see at the end. Okay, so the idea is you don't want to have any gaps, but you don't want to have them piled in one place either. Okay, next up, the salsa. Okay, same rules apply here in terms of the pizza rule. Less is more. Now I'm going to put the black beans. I'm going to sprinkle that corn on. And then the cheddar. And you want to make sure you're now at least covering all of the exposed chips with that cheddar so that it doesn't just burn. Right, and there you have it. Now, we've used black beans today because that's what we've got. You could use chicken, you could use mince, you could use whatever you want. Or leave it out and just go with salsa and cheese. Either way, it's up to you. That's the beauty of nachos. You really can do what you like with them. You will notice I didn't add too much salt to the salsa and I didn't add too much salt to the beans because the chips themselves are very, very salty. So that's an important note to just be aware of when you do make nachos. Taste how salty your chips are. Okay, well, I'm going to pop these in the oven now, and all you really want to do is melt and brown that cheese. So 10 minutes, we'll be ready to go. So I actually changed my strategy, look at that, halfway through there. I decided instead of having it in the oven for 10 minutes, I turned the oven off, turned the grill on after 5 minutes because these chips are quite thin. I didn't really want to waste too much time. So it was 5 minutes in the oven, 5 minutes under the grill. Nacho! I'm going to put this together and I'm going to show you exactly why I put this on tin foil. And will you just look at that, how beautiful, nothing fancy here. Basically, I had some of that fat-free cottage cheese still. I dolloped that on top. If you've got some guacamole, go for your badge. Fresh coriander, you've got to have with nachos. Give it a little squeeze of lime if you like some hot sauce. Nothing wrong with a little Tabasco. So, what a pleasure to make this. Thank you, Uncle Nacho, for joining us. And we'll see you tomorrow.